could probably cut this out if you wanted to. That piano. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Let your picks be right. Next year, all these injuries will be out of sight. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Hope your QB's ACL doesn't tear away. If your team makes the playoffs, may they show up to play. And have yourself a merry little Christmas day.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Amateur Hour Podcast, episode 16. I wonder if everybody out there listening is as hot and bothered as I am right now by that beautiful Christmas song by Mr. Jonathan Opheim. So thank you, John, for bringing that on to our guests.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Thanks for having me again. And then we want to introduce Bo this week for his third win. He's now doubled his money on the season. So congratulations, Bo. Tell us how you're feeling.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's Christmas time. You know, the spirit is in the air. I appreciate you having me. Thank you, guys.
People are going to start thinking that Soman, Will, and Bo are just like the additional co-hosts of this show because we had Will on last week to celebrate his third win. We have Bo this week to celebrate his third. I mean, these guys are just dominating the league, just dominating.
Let me interject there. Soman, Will, Bo, and Jenna.
And Jenna, you're
as
right.
you know, has 3 wins. So
I don't think she has 3 wins. I don't know where you got the third win from, but
she's got 2 wins and a tie for first.
I was gonna say at least 2 outright wins, though, right?
Yeah. And Bo, this was a dominant week for you. Can you give us, the beginners, the guys that got 6 right this week. Tell us how you made these picks.
You got to do your research, man. You got to do your research. There's a lot of different information out there, and a lot of it is free. So go out there and do your research. The Action Network app can be a good resource for a lot of people. They do a lot of different free articles. There's a lot of people they have writing. They do a lot of research on the games and they give their analysis. So it's a good resource that people can look to.
Oh, are you telling me that betting and picking with my heart is not the answer?
I'm going to tell you that it's not. But you do what you do there, Woody's Winners. You keep grinding, man. Keep grinding.
It's not going well so far, so maybe I'm going to have to do a little research.
And then just a quick shout out, second place, Kyle Acker. We haven't seen him on the top this lately, and Taylor Schwebke got third. So both strong finishes from them. Bo, you kind of had her sealed up before the Sunday night game, or was it after the Sunday night game?
No, it when the Giants covered that sealed it because I had a two game lead then. So the Monday night game didn't end up mattering.
That's always great week. That's the best feeling. I've said it before, not to beat a dead horse, but going into either Sunday or Monday night game with the win already there's no better feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to lock down. You're just looking at dollar signs.
Good to see a couple, unfamiliar faces in the top 3 this week as well with Kyle and Taylor. So hopefully we get Bo back here soon. We lost him with a little connection issue.
He's back.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry guys.
Okay, I can't see him yet. I can't see him.
Do you guys have a relation? Or first, let's. Are we drinking anything interesting tonight? Water, beer, whiskey?
I've got a Captain and Coke here. If that's of interest to anybody.
David?
Dude, I can't see Bo.
I can see Bo.
You can see Bo. I can't see Bo. So hopefully hopefully on the recording people can see Bo because they'd be really missing out. You got a Captain and Coke, you said?
I do have a Captain and Coke here with me. Yeah.
I got this little fancy drink here. It's a little rum shada with some root beer. It's supposed to taste like a root beer float.
Oh, very nice.
Wow, that's a good one. We're all on mixers. I have a peppermint patty, so this is Dr. McGillicuddy's menthol schnapps and hot chocolate.
Nice.
So we all have nice mixers tonight. Yeah, what a nice Tuesday evening.
Yeah.
That'll segue in real nicely to the relationship report card
Okay,
if you have one.
Bo and John, you do your report card. I'll be right back.
I don't have a specific report card
Okay.
to report, but between Keelan and I'm going to give us both a 9.5 because between the two of us and our son Alaric, we were all battling a stomach bug over the weekend. We all were fighting it off. So between the two of us and our son, there was a lot of give and take. There was a lot of teamwork between the two of us, keeping the house afloat and keeping everybody moving. I'm going to give us both a 9.5. But there was a lot of time spent on the couch, both watching the World Cup and watching football. So a half a point dock there, but there was a lot of teamwork between the two of us over the weekend, keeping the sickness down.
Well, excellent. Good job to you, and good job to Kalen. And Alaric is feeling better. The
Yeah,
stomach
we're
bug
all.
is
Yep,
eaten.
we've kicked it out. We kicked it out the front door and we sent it off with the cold. So we're all doing better.
You said Merry Christmas, stomach bug.
Yep, bah humbug to you.
Yeah. I got an 8, and I got an 8. And I asked Carla, I said, why? And she said, John, I just worked 8 hours and I'm eating, and I don't really want to talk about that. So it'll keep me up the rest of my life. So I'll always wonder why I got an 8. But that's what I
Yeah,
got.
that sounds like Carla.
Yeah.
You know, I once again failed to get a relationship report, but now I'm going to take this opportunity to tell a quick story. So shout out to these two guys for postponing the podcast. It was supposed to be earlier today. You know, now it's 9:35 p.m. So we're grinding out here for the fans. But so last night, you know, I drive home from work after working 11 hours. It's about 7 o'clock. I go to the gas station, fill up my gas tank, get back in the car, and my car will not start. It turns on, but it will not start. So I was having car issues. You know how big of a pain in the ass car problems are. Jackie's currently working at this time. She doesn't get off until 8 o'clock. So, you know, she won't get there until about 8:30, best case scenario. So I call AAA. You know, I wait for AAA to come. It's freezing outside. I'm sitting in my car for an hour and a half, basically, you know, freezing my toes and hands off. She shows up. We sit in her car waiting for AAA. AAA does not come until 11:30 p.m. So we were kind of
Jeez.
sitting there waiting for the tow truck to come grab my car. And so shout out to her. She gets a 10 this week, 10 out of 10 for picking me up, letting me sit in her warm car. I would have froze to death without her. So thank you, Jackie.
We love you, Jackie. Yeah. Keep us a good work. Keeping David alive. Just
No,
keeping you
no.
barely alive.
No kidding.
What would the podcast do without me? You know.
Oh boy.
We'd still be waiting, but that's okay. So David, in this instance, it's important to remember there are 3 things in life that you can overpay for: toilet paper, transportation, and quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Those are 3 good, solid things. My dad did give me that advice as well when I moved off on my own. He said never skimp on toilet paper. That's one thing he wanted to tell me, and he's on the cheap side for sure. So that's good advice, Bo.
Excellent advice. Can we get to our lock of the week results and the BBW results from last week?
Yes, you may. So starting off here hot with me, my lock of the week was Carolina -2.5 versus Pittsburgh. That did not cover. So that's another loss in a row for me. So that's two big losses in a row. Brings me to 9-6 on the year. You had the Rams +7.5 against your Packers. Did not have very much faith in them. The Packers did cover. So, you know, I obviously missed the game because I was freezing to death in my car. So I'm looking forward to having you guys describe what happened to me. But that brings you to 7-8 on the year. And Mr. Will Cleveland had the Jaguars +4.5 versus the Cowboys. Great pick, Will. They did cover the spread. So good pick.
Excellent work. BBW.
BBW, I had Mr. Devonta Smith on the Eagles. He had a pretty good game, I would say. I don't remember his exact stat line, but pretty early on, he had like 4 catches for a little over 100 yards, and I think he finished with probably somewhere near that. But he had a pretty solid game, I'd say. And you had Garrett Wilson, who I believe also had a pretty decent game. I think he had like 11 fantasy points. So I'll always be, you know, happy with over 10 points. So, and Mr. Will Cleveland had Joshua Palmer, who didn't really make waves by any means, but I think he had an above average game.
Yeah, 9.9. He was the 40th best receiver. Yours was the best. Devonta Smith had he was the 17th overall with 18. Good work there. Good work.
Yeah,
Thanks.
he had a nice game. Devontae did.
Yeah. And we'll get into that, but that was a close game, closer than we thought it would be. Why don't we go into the surprise games of the week? Bo, if you want to lead us off with the guest.
Oh, there's only one. It's the Vikings game, and it had to be the Vikings, right? I mean, if there's a team in the NFL that I hate, that's not the Bears the most, it's the Minnesota Vikings, and it just had to be the Vikings that pulled off the biggest comeback in NFL history. I'm seething. I'm seething about it. It drives me insane. But that was the game. I didn't even watch the second half. I was so sick of watching the first half because it was so awful. I'm like, okay, it's halftime. They're down by 33. I'm going to take a nap because I'm sicker than a dog right now. So I didn't even watch the second half. And my wife came and woke me up, and they were going to overtime. She said, "Hey, you should probably get up and watch this game. They're going to go to overtime." And I didn't even believe her. I didn't believe her. I went back to sleep and woke up, 15 minutes later, 20 minutes later, and the game was over and the Vikings had won. So that was the surprise game of the week in my eyes.
Huge surprise. That's a great call. Biggest comeback in NFL history, like you said. We were watching, the beginning of the game. We actually went to Jackie's grandparents' house, who do not have NFL Network. We were socializing, so we didn't have the game on. And when we left, it was whatever 33-0 at half.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, I get a little notification on my phone. Vikings complete the comeback and win in overtime. So that was pretty crazy. John, what was your surprise game?
I just want to ask on that. Do you guys think this builds up resiliency for the Vikings going into the playoffs? Or, I mean,
No,
do you
I
think?
still think they're trash.
Okay, both
They're,
on the trash side. I think it makes them a little better personally to come back, because that's a game. If I was playing NFL football, I would have given up personally.
yeah,
I don't have the work ethic like those guys probably, but
yeah.
that would have been one I would have just called off and said, we'll get them next week.
So I'm gonna quickly come back to the Action Network that I mentioned earlier, but they do an article every week. They call it the luck rankings between the NFL, because football is a game. Some of it is a little bit of luck. You have to get
Yep.
bounces in certain
Mhm.
spots, and they rank teams based on the luck that they get every week. And the Vikings have by far been the luckiest team this year, and it shows because they historically are the worst. What are they? 11-2 now. The
Mhm.
worst 11-2 team by point differential in NFL history. They're absolutely horrendous. I think their point differential right now is like plus 13 or something like that. And they're 11-2, which means they're not actually that good. They've just won a ton of one score games, and which is true. So I don't think they're a good team. They're going to host a playoff game, likely the 6 or the 7 seed. And I don't think they make it past the divisional round in any way. I still don't trust Kirk Cousins at all.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you, Bo, there. But one thing I will say to go back to your question, John, I think it does help a little bit where, like, later in the season and maybe into the playoffs, like, no matter what lead the other team has on them, like, they can always go back to this and say, hey, we came back from that. We can come back from this. Like, it gives you that kind of attitude. I don't know. Maybe that's me just like with a simple brain. But I think kind of what you said, Bo, with the Vikings probably going to lock up that second seed. I think it'd be really interesting, and I think the Detroit Lions must be licking their chops, hoping that they can have that matchup in the first round. I think they would love to see the Vikings in the first round.
Yeah. So the only thing, Bo, are you still there?
I think we lost Bo again.
He froze really nicely, though, I will say. The only rebuttal, I do agree with Bo that the Vikings are the most of the highest rated seeds. They're very susceptible, but I always say it's better to be lucky than good. And, if they can get lucky, what do they got to do? 4 games to win it all? They got to get lucky 4 games. They've already got a lucky on 11. I don't know. I wouldn't say they're the favorite, but you know what I mean? I think that at a certain point when you start winning these close games, I think it becomes a habit for you. And if there's a close game in the playoffs, maybe they're more than likely to pull it out.
Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, the only thing you got to be concerned about is in the playoffs, you're playing four really good teams in a row. And, to
True.
give up 33 first half points to the Colts without Jonathan Taylor is obviously concerning. So their defense, like we've said the last couple of weeks, they have to get better. And in the second half, they did. They didn't even, I don't think they even gave up a point. So, Or 3 points, yeah.
Just a field
39,
goal.
36, right? Is that the final?
Yeah, he's back. He's back. We got him back.
I'm sorry, guys. My internet apparently is not helping me out tonight.
You froze
It's
good,
okay.
Bo, though. It was a good shot of you.
Was it?
You froze in a good position.
Oh man, yeah. Sorry, guys.
No worries.
Okay.
My surprise game, and I look at the stat line, and I don't know how it happened because I didn't watch the game. Mine was the Chiefs going into overtime with the Texans, and I look at the total yards, and the Chiefs had 500 yards of offense, and the Texans had 220. I mean, it's just like seems like a very lopsided game. I don't know if you guys watched it. Why did this game go to overtime? What the hell happened?
I didn't watch the game, but I did watch some of the highlights back and did a little digging in. I read an article on the game, and it was what you expected. The Chiefs did dominate that game. They did move the ball up and down the field, but there were some costly penalties and some dumb defensive mistakes that kind of let Houston hang around in that game. And it kind of turned out the way that you would have expected. Houston had a bad turnover in overtime, and it let the Chiefs right back in the game. But it was one of those, it was kind of like that Colts game where the Chiefs played the Colts earlier in the year and they ended up losing. That was a game too where the Chiefs absolutely dominated the game, but there was a couple of things that went the wrong way and they ended up losing. In this one, they ended up pulling it out. But yeah, it was weird that it ended up in overtime, but the Chiefs definitely did dominate that game.
I tip my cap to Davis Mills, 120 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. So keep up the great work down there in Houston, Davis.
Mills Mafia.
Mills
He is
Mafia.
he is your poster boy for the C quarterback. He's just good enough to get by. Just good
Yeah.
enough.
Just good enough to lose in overtime. That's a
Yep.
good boy.
Yeah, and be one. What are they? 1-9-1 or 1-10-1 or something
112
like
and
that.
1.
1-12-1. Yeah,
It's
bad.
actually, it looks nice. I wish I would have seen it when it was 111 and 1. But it just looks very symmetrical, you know?
Yep. Yep.
111-1.
Yep.
It just seems like all is balanced in the universe, you know.
Yep.
I'd say I got to give my surprise game of the week to my Bears. You know, this is
Ooh.
loser talk right here, but keeping it close against the Eagles. I mean, Eagles are a really tough team. They made them look human, made Jalen Hurts look human. So keeping it close was a huge surprise. If our listeners listen to me, they're all homeless right now. I told them
They're homeless.
to go to the bank and take everything they own and put it on the Eagles to cover the spread. So just shows how much of a terrible gambler I am, and it I just hope that nobody listened to me.
Yeah, I'm surprised that you were so heavy on the Eagles, David, because I think Justin Fields is the guy in Chicago, and I think he's good enough to keep them in games, and he did that. And I thought about this one kind of the way that I thought about the way that they played against Dallas, is that it was kind of just Justin Fields doing crazy things, and it kept them in the game just enough. And at the end, it was kind of the same thing, and they kind of backdoored that game too. To get the cover. So I'm surprised that you were so heavily against your Bears.
Yeah, I mean, it just after watching years and years of other teams dominating us, Bo, you eventually just get bitter about it, you know. So you start to think, hey, here's a
Yeah.
Bears team that's 3-10 coming into a game against the Eagles that are 12-1. I'm pretty confident that the Eagles are going to win by double digits. And turned out, you know, like you said, the backdoor covered by the Bears, and it's one of those bittersweet situations when I'm watching the game where you're happy that they score at the end, and then you think, oh shit, they didn't cover the spread. So.
Yeah, it was a classic look-ahead game for both the Eagles and the Cowboys, who play each other this week, and neither of them covered. The Eagles did get the win, but the Cowboys they were looking ahead to the Eagles, and they ended up pissing their game away against the Jaguars.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence played phenomenally well. I think
Yeah,
I'm glad I traded him off my team in fantasy. I think it was better for him, you know.
yeah. Oh, did we lose David now?
It's hide and seek. It's whack-a-mole tonight. But
That's
you know, it's
okay.
after 9 o'clock. The internet slows down. People are
Yeah.
ready for bed. The computers are ready for bed.
So David, are you back in on your Jaguars? I know earlier in the
Couldn't
year
see you again, Bo, and it was driving me crazy. You know, I
Oh
just
man,
can't
I'm
I
sorry.
can't talk to John and then like a gray screen. So I just had to get out of there, come back, and now I got everybody back. So
Okay, all right, good. So are you in on your Jaguars now? I know earlier in the year you kind of wrote them off. You said they'd never be anything. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts on the Jaguars of Jacksonville.
I'm back in on the Jaguars.
Whoa!
Okay.
Wow.
All
that
right.
was
All
quick.
right. That's what I wanted to hear.
Here's what I
So
think about
excited.
the Jaguars. I don't love their current roster. I don't love their current team, but I do like their offense. I do love their skill players that they have on offense, and I'm really really intrigued to see how, Trevor Lawrence continues to develop. And a lot of people are forgetting the fact that they get Calvin Ridley next year
Yep.
too. So that's a huge addition to their already pretty decent offense. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the Jaguars, as you say, can continue to improve.
Yeah, I really like the fact that they got Doug Peterson in there. I think he's a perfect match for Trevor Lawrence because people were kind of shitting on him and putting him down for how poorly he played last year. But I don't think you can take anything away from his rookie season. I like to call this his rookie season because last year was such a mess with Urban Meyer in there. You can't really call he didn't learn anything in that season whatsoever. So I like to call this what he's in right now his rookie season, and I think it's going really well for him. They might win that division. Yet we don't know if they win out and they beat I think they play Tennessee the last game of the year. If they win out, they will win that division and they will host a playoff game.
Yeah, Tennessee's slipping, and the Jaguars are playing a lot better lately. So
Mm.
I would not count them out. So it'd be interesting to see how the end of the season goes.
Yeah, Trevor did learn how to lose under Urban Meyer, and that is
Yeah,
for some that's easier than others to learn. But they learned it
yeah.
pretty well last year. Zay Jones was the third leading overall fantasy player
John,
on
can you
the
get your damn
Jaguars.
head back into the screen, please?
Sorry, I was just chilling. Zay Jones was third overall, 35 points. Plays for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jalen Hurts, first overall, 37 points. Josh Allen, second. Kirk Cousins, fourth. Jerick McKinnon. I think this is his second week in the top 5
Yeah,
of
he's been
fantasy
balling.
players.
Old
Which I
man
don't know what's
McKinnon.
going on.
Yeah.
The dude's 30, and they always write running backs off after 30, but he's proven everyone wrong. So
It doesn't matter with the Chiefs. It does not matter with that Chiefs offense. If you get a back in there that can play, man, he's gonna just chew up yards.
yeah, and that is exactly what happened. I think people were very high on this rookie Pacheco.
Clyde. Oh yeah. I see. I think I was gonna say I think I like Pacheco's game too. I think that they provide a different thing for that offense. Pacheco's kind of in there. Just looking at the guy, you wouldn't really think he's like a between the tackles runner, but he runs really hard. He's a young
Yeah.
guy, he's fresh, and then you switch up the pace and get McKinnon on the outside, and he's lethal, like in the open space.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in the dynasty community are hoping that the Chiefs take like Bijan Robinson or one of these rookie running backs in the first or second round,
Yeah.
because any running back that is semi decent there is going to have success because of the passing game.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
Well,
going to happen. Maybe they like Pacheco good enough that they
that's going to
won't.
be as long as you've got Mahomes though, they're going to just churn out backs and they're all going to be
Yeah.
productive.
I mean, that's what I'd be worried about if I was the Chiefs is like, do you want to spend that high of a draft pick when you're throwing the ball probably 40 times a game? It's
Right.
like Bo said, I mean, any back that they put in that offense is going to have some success. Clyde
Yeah.
Edwards-Helaire, might be the exception, but he's been injured, and before he was injured, he was having some success there too.
Yeah.
So I would be nervous as a Chiefs fan to not waste, but spend such a high draft pick on like a running back when you have, this amazing quarterback, this amazing offensive mind as an offensive coordinator and head coach, when I would rather, build the defense, make sure that Mahomes has a good offensive line to protect him, and keep making sure he has like wide receivers and skill players around him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you, but playing devil's advocate, I think you could argue that the 49ers offense really opened up by getting the stud like Christian McCaffrey there.
Yeah, but they didn't have a star quarterback like the Chiefs do.
Right. Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a stark contrast because that's all run through the Shanahan system. And you put any kind of decently skilled back in there and they're gonna have a lot of success. I mean, look at what happened to the backs that moved from San Francisco to Miami. I mean, you look at Mostert and is that Wilson that they traded over there too?
Yeah, Jeff Wilson. Yeah.
Jeff Wilson. I mean, they're both having really good seasons down in Miami now.
Fair point. Yeah, so I don't know why I brought that up, but
That's okay.
just
That's
came
good
to-
NFL talk.
Yeah, good MFL talk.
How about
Uh,
so here's a little thing you mentioned in the intro song is the injuries in the NFL. I mean, I feel like we're starting to get that time of the year when injuries are starting to plague us. We saw Jonathan Taylor out for the rest of the year. I'm sorry
Yep.
to any fantasy owner that has him.
Good trade, David. Good trade.
Oh,
No,
that's
not
news.
long
That's
term.
news to me. They ruled him out the rest of the year, huh?
He got put on the IR, yeah, so he's out for the year.
Okay.
But
Yep.
people might ask David, why are you not wearing one of your dope NFL jerseys that you normally wear, and why are you wearing all black? Well, today is the funeral for both of my fantasy teams. I lost both
Oh
leagues in the first
man.
round of the playoffs,
Oh
mostly
man.
because of my boy Justin Herbert. So he really killed me this week. He had like,
Kurt.
I think 5 points, and I started him in both of those leagues. Um, in one league, it's a two quarterback league plus a super flex. I had three quarterbacks, and Justin Herbert and Aaron Rodgers combined got me 13 points.
God.
It's a bad day.
So
That
I lost
hurts,
by
man.
like
No,
10 points. So that's
yeah.
brutal. I mean, when you got guys that are producing pretty well all season long, and then you hit that first round of the playoffs and they just take a total shit for you, it's just the hardest thing to deal with in fantasy football.
I can sympathize with you on this point, David, because my fantasy team has really taken a hit, and Justin Herbert didn't do me any favors this week either, and I took the L because of it. So I'm with you, and yeah, it's been rough.
But I have his first round draft pick. So, Bo, continue to do what you're doing. I thank you very much. It's working out for me, so I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
I got T Higgins out of it, so I'm okay. I feel okay
And
with the move,
when you have Brees Hall, so when he comes
and I do
back,
have
I
Brees
think
Hall.
you're
Yep,
in good shape. The future is at least bright for you. You know, you don't
yeah,
have a bunch of guys that are has-beens. So
yep. No, I'm with you. And
Don't you?
Cooper Cup's
You have
gonna be
Cooper
good,
Cup as well, don't you?
and Cooper Cup's
yeah,
gonna be fine. So
you got
I
fucked
just
by
have to.
injuries.
Yep.
Bad.
I just need a win. I need one more win to get myself out of the toilet bowl, and we'll be happy. Then we can just coast into next year, and we can write this one off
You
as,
guys have a league punishment.
yeah, you have to buy the keg
Oof,
For the
for the
rookie
draft
draft.
for the rookie draft party.
So
that's a
that's what
good punishment.
I was gonna ask you, Dave. Should I try to win and get in that last? Because right now I have Dave or so I have the first round picks of Bo and the guy he's playing to get to the bottom. So I'm gonna at least at the worst I'll get 3 out of the top 4 picks. But do I lose to guarantee that I get the Bijan lottery and try to win in that last week, or do I
You
try to
think
stay out of the toilet bowl?
you think Robinson is the best available rookie, huh, John?
Dude, he loves Bijan Robinson. He's all over him.
He's mentioned him again. Now this is, I think, the second time I've been on a
Dude,
podcast
the
and just mentioned
dynasty
Robinson.
community is so they have such a hard on for Bijan Robinson. I can't help but to just follow along, you know.
And he was, I mean, he was fine at Texas. I wouldn't say he was anything spectacular. So I'm really shocked that you brought him up again because I think there are some really, really good wide receivers that have a lot higher upside.
And it's a very, very deep running back draft as well. There's
Yeah.
actually a
Yes.
lot of good running back talent coming out of this draft. So I would personally not want to lose automatically so that I have to buy a keg for all those guys, but that's totally your call, buddy.
No, no. Okay, yeah, I won't do it, but no, there's a lot of running backs. I've been reading a lot and they are saying that you said you were high on that Zach Charbonnet from UCLA.
Yeah, I like his
Solid
game.
back, yeah.
And he's big guy too. I think he's like 6'1",
He
225
reminds
or
me a lot of like a James Conner.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, he's big. When he's out on the field, he looks big compared to
Yeah.
the guys he's out there with.
hmm
So the Reddit dynasty community is not hot on Zach Charbonnet. They are hot on Bijan Robinson and Jameer Gibbs, who is actually like quite undersized. And I don't watch college football very often, but my grandfather watches all the Alabama games. And he said when he watched this running back play, he said he didn't really notice him. So it's not like in years past where they had Derrick Henry or Najee Harris.
Mhm.
So I don't think I'm currently consensus seems to be that Jameer Gibbs is like the second best running back. And I don't know if
Yeah.
I buy into that.
I think
We'll
that's great
see.
analysis from your grandpa. I mean, I've watched a lot of Alabama this year, actually, a decent amount, and I couldn't tell you a single like trait that Jameer Gibbs has. I know
Yeah.
he's like high on a lot of draft boards and a lot of dynasty stuff, but I don't know much about him, so I can't really speak on him. And maybe I'm like horrifically wrong about him, but he doesn't jump out to me as like a top back.
I would say the same for the rest of the Alabama skill players on offense. I don't think there's anybody out there. You can throw Bryce Young in there if you want to. I don't think there's anybody on that team that really stood out athletic wise. And Bryce Young, I think if you take Bryce Young with the first overall pick, if you're Houston, I think you're making a huge mistake because I think that guy's going to break in half within the first 6 weeks of him starting. That guy's so tiny. Like you think Kyler Murray's small, man. Take a look at Bryce Young. That dude is tiny. He's very, very little.
Yeah, he's really thin. Who do you think they go with, or who do you think they should go with? CJ Stroud?
I think if you need a QB, you have to go with CJ Stroud. Absolutely. I think he gives you the most upside because he's such an athletic guy. But I think he has the pocket presence that you need out of a QB. I don't love taking Ohio State quarterbacks or Alabama quarterbacks for that matter that high in the draft because it doesn't tend to work out. You can throw Jalen Hurts at me, fine, go for it.
Jalen Hurts.
But
Justin Fields.
if you try coming at me with Mac Jones, yeah, Justin
Tua.
Fields, yeah, you can say Justin Fields. Don't
Mac
even go there
Jones.
with Tua. Don't go there with Tua. or
AJ
Mac Jones.
McCarron,
You guys just keep going. This is just proving my point.
Greg McElroy.
Yep. Keep going. Who else you got for me?
But I don't
Yeah,
know.
I
Is there a
think-
college where you want to draft a quarterback from? I feel like it's all such a crapshoot.
Yeah, it is. It really
Yeah.
is. Yeah. If you look at starting quarterbacks in the NFL right now, there's not a lot of real big name guys from big schools. You can say Joe Burrow because he played at LSU, but
Yeah.
that was for a year after
He got cut.
bounced
He's
around.
Ohio State, technically, Bo.
He was Ohio State, yeah, and then he went to LSU for 1 year where he was dominant. So it's a crapshoot. It really is. I mean, you look at Josh Allen played at Wyoming. I mean, give me a break.
Yeah, that's effed up.
Yeah.
That's really effed up.
Yeah.
Hey, Bo, who is a receiver you're high on that maybe some listening may not know about, or just one you're high on in general?
There's a guy that plays for TCU. You're going to see him playing against
Quentin.
Michigan, Quentin Johnson. He's a little raw, but he's a big boy and he can run. And he's got the dreads that I love in a wide receiver. So I like him a lot.
You know what really makes me nervous about him? I love his game. I love his size. I'm worried he's the next Kevin White.
Oh boy. Oh, that's a shot right
Like they
there.
look gorgeous coming out of college, and you're like,
Yeah.
this is my dream receiver. And then you pick them high, and they just turn out to be kind of a dud. And I hope that's not the case. Maybe it's just because he looks like Kevin White that I keep thinking this, but I'm
Yeah.
worried. Like big guy, good hands, runs fast, tall, and then somehow it doesn't work out. Like you think it's like lock that they're going to be like a successful NFL receiver. You think he's the next Julio Jones, and maybe he is, but I just get so nervous about him. I really like Jordan Addison out of USC. I think he's
Yeah.
a really well-rounded receiver. He's a good route runner. He has great hands. He is a little undersized, so he kind of reminds me of like a Darnell Mooney type wide receiver, or like a Devontae Smith, maybe a little bit bigger than him, but someone like that where like they already have really crisp route running, good hands, they're smart, So I think I'm pretty high on him.
I like him too. I like him a lot. Yeah.
USC has put out good receivers recently, haven't they? I mean,
Yeah,
Jordan Addison,
Amon-Ra St. Brown, or
Both the
Amon
St.
Ra.
Browns. Didn't
That's
they
the other
both
one I
play
was
for them?
thinking of.
Didn't they both
Yeah.
play for USC?
Yeah.
And Equanimeous, didn't he play for USC too?
He might have. Yeah, I know Amon-Ra had a much better college career though,
Oh,
but
yeah. Yeah,
but yeah, he
definitely.
might have played at USC as well. But
Yeah,
yeah.
Amon Ra and Drake London are the two current ones that come to mind. What do you guys think about JSN at Ohio State? I know he really hasn't played at all this year.
Yeah, he's been
but-
he's been banged up all year. I mean, he was
Yeah.
going into the season, he was really highly touted as one of those top wide receiver prospects. I'm still pretty high on him. He just from the performance that he had, as a I think true freshman last year, right? He was a sophomore this year, true
I think
sophomore.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, he has a
Yep.
lot of talent. No, that must not be right because he's draft eligible this year. So it must have been a sophomore last year.
Oh, yeah,
But
probably.
really talented. He was just banged up all year, so you hope that doesn't carry on into his rookie season. But what do you think, Bo?
I think the only problem with him is that he's not even the best wide receiver on that team right now. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is a much better prospect.
Yeah.
So,
looks-
did he play with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave though when he had that phenomenal sophomore year?
Yeah, but neither of those two were playing in that bowl game when they played. Was it the Rose Bowl when they played?
It was a
against
Rose
Utah?
Bowl, yeah, against Utah.
But neither of those two played in that game. That's kind of why
Oh.
he had the breakout. So it was him and Marvin Harrison Jr. that were kind of the 1-2 on that team.
So, yeah, because I actually didn't look at his stat line. So you're saying that he had this explosion in the bowl game at the end of his sophomore year, and he really wasn't as
Well,
phenomenal.
he had a really good sophomore year in
Yeah.
total. But like Bo said, he was like pretty much the third option, and maybe that's why he had a lot of success. I don't know. Like obviously he's freakishly talented, but when
Yeah.
you're playing kind of as the third option behind Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, maybe the defense is drawing a lot more attention to those guys, and it opens up those opportunities for you. So that could
Yeah.
have led to a lot of his success, but maybe that's another compliment to him when those two opted out that he still shined. So I think that he has a lot of talent, and I'm excited to see him in the pros for sure.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Wilson and Olave are the real deal. Those guys are both studs.
For
Yeah.
sure. And none of them are really like overly big guys.
No, no. But it
That's what's
seems like
surprising.
it seems like Wilson has really taken over the number one role in New
Yeah.
York for the Jets. I really like the way he's been playing. They just need a QB, man. They're just the guys they have in there right
Mike
now
White,
are just
dude.
not
Mike
it.
White.
No, dude, get out of here with Mike White. He's solid, but he's another C quarterback.
He's Davis Mills. Yeah, I was just about to
Mhm.
say that. And Zach Wilson, I think, is garbage.
Yeah, his
I'm
numbers,
ready.
his days there are his days there are numbered.
Yeah, I'm ready for them to move on from him and to see if they go for like a big name guy with a trade over the offseason or what they do, because they have a pretty good roster and a really good defense and a lot of good skill players. With Brees Hall coming back, Garrett Wilson we talked about. Elijah Moore is a really young, talented guy too. So if they don't get another quarterback in there soon, they're going to miss a window.
Jimmy
Yeah.
G.
Yeah,
Jimmy
I
G.
could see them going
I,
for something like that.
I think he's going to be the guy. I think they're gonna cut away from Joe Flacco, and I think Zach Wilson's going to end up backing up Jimmy G, and he's going to be the guy in there to just point and shoot, let that defense win them games.
I like that. I think
So
that's a good fit.
going back to JSN, it looks like he had two big games. He had like decent games, but the two big ones regular season in 2021 were against Oregon. When Oregon was 12th in the country, he had 7 receptions, 145 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then against Nebraska, he had 15 receptions, which is crazy, 240 yards, 1 touchdown. So,
Yeah.
yeah, decent during the regular season. But like you say, if you're the third best option, that might, you're playing probably the third best cornerback. So it
Yeah.
leaves you, it's tough if you don't watch, if you look at these stat splits and you don't actually watch the games. I really don't think, me personally, I don't think I have a feel on how talented people are. I'm just going off of what other people say.
Right.
Yeah, you're reading your dynasty blogs and getting all these
Yeah.
weird thoughts in your brain. Just
Some
maybe
loser living in his
maybe
parents'
touch grass and watch a little
basement.
college football before you can talk on it.
John's
Yeah.
3 hour deep in some Reddit board talking about
Right.
college football wide receiver
All
3.
the answers to the universe deep in this Reddit board.
Yeah.
Dave, can you talk a little about the Bears game? I didn't get a chance to watch it. I saw the score, but
Yeah, I didn't really watch it either. It wasn't on TV where we're at, so we were watching Red Zone, so it would shine in, to highlights here and there. But like Bo hinted at earlier, it was one of those games again for the Bears where Justin Fields kind of makes some crazy plays to keep him in the game. I was happy to see Pringle get involved. He had that late touchdown to have that backdoor cover for the Bears, but he's a receiver that I'd like for them to keep on the roster next year. Most of the other guys can go, I think. N'Keal Harry, I'd like to see him stay. But Velus Jones, who's a rookie, we picked in the 3rd round, fumbled again. He really has like butter on his hands. This guy cannot hold on to a ball to save his life. I think it's kind of equivalent to how frustrated the Packers and the Packers fans were with Amari Rodgers earlier in the year, where maybe not fumbling was the biggest issue for him, but Velus Jones, man, we started him, picked him up as like a return man in the draft, and he really was dropping a lot of punts. He wasn't, doing very well on the return side of things. We're like, all right, let's move him to receiver, see what he can do, and he's struggled in that department too. So moving on from a receiver after 1 year is a tough thing to do, especially after spending a 3rd round pick on him. But he's been really driving me crazy. So the Bears overall, to answer your question, I mean, it's another week of, let's just see what we can do out there, try to keep people healthy as possible, and let's just keep improving that draft stock, I guess. So still have the number 2 overall pick with the Broncos win, so that was a good thing for us.
Well, you have any comments on the Bears game? I didn't watch it.
Hey, they injured Jalen Hurts. I mean, if there's any hope for any other NFC team, I mean, it's that Jalen Hurts is now banged up. So I don't know. We'll see what that amounts to. I think this is just a ploy for the Eagles to give Jalen Hurts some rest. They don't need these games. I think they only need to win one of their last 3 games to secure the 1 seed. So I don't think they really need this Cowboys game that's coming up. So
Oh my God,
it'll be exciting.
these two former Eagles have a podcast, and one is Jason Avant. The other guy I didn't recognize his name, but they were talking, and there's a clip on Twitter of them saying that the Bears intentionally hurt Jalen Hurts. It's like if you watch the clip, it's like a totally normal hit. Number two,
Yeah.
what would the Bears have to gain out of hurting Jalen Hurts?
Nothing
Like
whatsoever.
it's just totally insane that they would even say that.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to say, but watching a little bit of that game too, I think that once again, I'm seeing like a ton of, maybe I'm a little bit biased, but a ton of these late hits on Justin Fields too, where they're not getting called. Ndamukong Suh like clubbed him in the head once after he was tackled or slid. He's getting hit
Shocker.
late. He's getting hit in the head as he's throwing the ball. No calls. So it's frustrating to see that, they're not looking out for all these guys equally.
Yeah, he doesn't have that status yet. He doesn't have the NFL QB, that high ranking status. He's not to the Tom Brady level where you can't touch the guy. So
Or
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers kind of gets it too. And from
He
being
does
a
sometimes
fan, I
get it, yeah.
can objectively say I've seen him get some bullshit calls.
Yeah.
Tom Brady is the worst. Like they give him some stupid ass calls.
Well, and those bigger, bigger guys that run around too, I think they don't get, as many calls as those pocket passers like you see when
Right.
Fields or Hurts or Lamar Jackson or Cam Newton, when those guys
Yeah.
are running around, they don't get as many of those calls.
Cam was a big one, man. Cam took some wicked shots. Wicked
Yeah.
shots when
Yeah,
he
he
was
really
running the
did.
football.
Because Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, they just look so weak and fragile when they go to the ground, and that's what it is. I don't know if they try to sell it or what's going on, but they look like glass when they're going to the fucking ground, and it's like,
I'm ready for both of them to go away.
yeah.
So tell me about the Packer game, because I did not watch. Like I said, I was freezing to death. So tell me and tell our listeners about how that Packer game went down.
Oh, they're still trash.
I too was freezing to death. I was at the game, and it was
Oh, okay. John, you go first then. You were there. You saw it firsthand.
okay. So you have a lot of holes that you have to fill in, Bo, because the first quarter it was just a clusterfuck of people trying to find the correct seat. So it was constantly I was backing up into the people behind me as people would go down my row and then realize that they're not in this section and go a different way. I went with my buddy Chad, and he couldn't even find his seat, so he was sitting in the complete wrong section. We had to go find him and bring him over to us because he was not even in the correct section. Correct section, row, or seat. Nothing made sense.
Was Chad inebriated?
He was, yes, but I don't know
No,
why. I just found him sitting on a random seat by a random woman. So I missed the whole first quarter. And then at half, it was so cold that we just went in the atrium and warmed up until after their first drive. So I watched like the AJ Dillon touchdown in the second half. The one thing that I wanted to ask you, because you saw it on TV, Bo. What the hell happened with that Aaron Rodgers throw to Alan Lazard? Was it way over his head? He didn't even jump for it. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
So the Rams and the Packers play a similar style of defense. It's kind of the same cover 4 quarters coverage, but it's real soft. And so what Alan Lazard did was he kind of ran a shallow cross and then cut up along the sideline. And I think what Aaron Rodgers wanted him to do was to continue on his route. And where Lazard saw the safety over the top, who ended up intercepting the pass, Lazard saw the safety over the top as he cut up field and kind of sat down in the hollow point in the zone and expected Rodgers to kind of put the ball on him, whereas Rodgers was trying to lead him downfield. So that miscommunication led to the errant throw, and it looked like Rodgers was just throwing it to the defender. So it was poor communication between the two of them. Obviously, they had different ideas of where the other thought the other was going to end up on the play. So it was just bad. It was just bad, and it leads kind of into what I expect for the rest of the year with the Packers. That it's just going to look disjointed. They really do well running the football. I know they're in the top 10 in DVOA if you want to talk analytic numbers of rushing in the NFL. So the rushing offense is actually really solid. And going against the Rams team, they actually ran the ball pretty well. But their passing offense is just disjointed. It's been all year, and I know it's looked a little bit better recently. So they sit at 6-8 right now, and there are people that are talking about them that they still have a chance to get into the playoffs. I don't think they have a chance in hell. They're not going to beat Miami on Christmas Day. They're not going to beat the Bears, or not the Bears, excuse me. They're not going to beat the Vikings and the Lions to win out. So I don't see it. They looked okay against the Ram team. I mean, yeah,
Shit.
they beat the Raiders last week, but that was magical, I guess, if you want to put a word on it.
Yeah,
It didn't
Disney.
really make it didn't really make any sense. But that team's bad. That Rams team is bad. So the Packers to beat them 24-12 doesn't say anything about the Packers other than they're very mediocre.
But first game that I was surprised that they covered. And so I will give them
Yeah.
credit there, because when they've been favored by more than like 2 points, they shit the bed and fucking don't cover. So
Yeah.
give them credit there. And then I would give credit to the run game. I don't know how long this defensive coordinator will be there, but I hope it's not long. I don't really like the way the defense
No.
looks. For all the supposed talent they have, they don't really get it. They actually got a decent amount of pressure on Baker Mayfield, I thought. I remember
Yeah.
I had a few beers, so it's just from what I remember, but they had a decent amount of sacks, maybe 3 or 4.
Yeah, and we saw a little bit of more designed pressure by Joe Barry, which I thought was surprising, but it's still way too much soft zone. And you saw the Rams with Baker Mayfield and some no-name receivers that nobody really knows pick up 3rd and 15, 3rd and
Yeah,
17. I mean
2-2.
that's just not things. Those are not third downs that you should be converting.
Yeah.
Especially a team that's so bad, and the passing offense that's so bad for the Rams. I don't think Joe Barry makes it past this year. I think he's with the Packers this year, and then he's gone. But you did see a little bit more design pressure, and I think the players are there, especially when they get healthy. But Kenny Clark played well, which was the first game in like a month that he's actually played well. So that's been an issue for the Packers run defense too, because if he doesn't play well, they give up a lot of yards on the ground, and we saw that when they played the Eagles. Man, they just got gashed over and over and over again, and it's going to happen again when they go down to Miami. I would expect Miami to run for probably 200 yards in that game. I don't think the Packers have a chance.
And then just real quick, talking about the playoffs, I want to share with you guys the current standings. Any teams you like to sneak in the AFC or NFC? Can you guys see it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you can see just for the listeners on the bubble, so the people on the outside just looking in the AFC, Patriots, Jets, and Jaguars. In the NFC, it is the Seahawks, Lions, and Packers would be the third team looking in. So any teams you guys like sneaking in that are getting hot at the right time?
Did you update? Is that updated?
I believe so.
Oh, so that's showing their last matchup. Okay, I thought that was showing their
Yeah.
next matchup.
So the
Yeah.
two teams that I like to get in, one on each side, we touched on one of them. I like the Jaguars of Jacksonville to get in. I do like them to actually win that division, and I like the Lions to sneak in. I like them to get in either over Washington or the Giants. I think the Washington team has a really tough road. I think their next game is in San Francisco.
Yep.
I think they've got a pretty rough road ahead of them. I think they end up falling out, and I think the Lions sneak in on the NFC side as the 7th seed.
Any for you,
Yeah.
Dave?
Yeah, I would have to agree. I think the Lions are exciting to see if they can squeak in there. I think, I'd be definitely rooting for the Lions to make a playoff run there. And I think their matchup, if they match up with the Vikings, they're going to be loving that matchup. So I'm hoping for the Lions there that they can get that win. That's been always one team that's like, obviously in division rival that I've just never had any bad feelings about because they've just always kind of been irrelevant, except for that
Yep.
one year that Stafford and Kelvin Johnson made a playoff game, and I think lost to the Seahawks. Out of the AFC, yeah, I think it's pretty set how it is
Yeah. Who
now.
did the Jaguars knock out? Then you're saying they would knock out the Titans and win
The
the
Titans,
division?
yeah, by winning the division, yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. I was high on the Jets a few weeks ago. I really am not high on the Jets anymore. The Patriots, I think, won a couple in a row. Maybe they can squeak in there over the Dolphins if the Dolphins slip up a couple times. But overall, I think that how the AFC is set right now is probably how it's going to end up. But I'd be all in favor of the Jaguars squeaking in there. I think that'd be cool to see.
Very good. That's all I
First time
had.
since Blake Bortles, I think, led their team.
And
Yeah.
then, do you guys know? So Eagles basically have first overall locked up in the bye. Besides the Bills and the Chiefs, I mean, are the Bengals still in it? Can they still
Oh,
lock up?
absolutely.
They can.
I think so. I think the Bengals can still potentially slip into the 2 seed, but it would take a collapse by the Chiefs, which I don't see happening.
Okay.
No, but I see the Bengals as a real contender for the Super Bowl
Ab-
for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm with you.
And then who are your picks, Dave, on the AFC side?
I had the Bengals and the Niners.
Okay. And I had Eagles and Titans. Titans are not looking good. Not looking good at
They
all.
just don't have the skill players, man. Letting go of AJ Brown, I think, is a monumental mistake, and I think that's part of the reason that their GM got fired mid-season, which you don't see very often. You see some coaches get fired mid-season when it's really rough for teams, but you don't often see GMs get fired mid-season.
No.
But
Yeah,
when
that's
the
interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, when you trade away a guy and then the owner gets to watch that guy come into your place and tear you up, it's not a good look. It's not a
No.
good look, man. It's bad. It's bad and it gets you
That's a
fired.
fireable offense.
It is indeed. Yeah.
Good middle finger though for AJ Brown. So good for
Yep.
him.
Yep.
Who is your guys' big baller of the week?
I've got one. I like Raheem Mostert of the Dolphins to have a big week
Mm.
against the Packers rush defense. That is, I mean, there's more holes in that thing than Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
That's a good pick.
I'm going with DJ Moore this week. It's going to be I was really hesitant on this one because I really don't like the Lions' pass defense. I think that they have a pretty weak pass defense, but it's been better lately. And he's probably going to be matched up against Jeff Okudah, who I think is a solid cornerback in the league. So it's going to be tough there. But DJ Moore's had a couple really good weeks in a row. I think he continues that streak against the Lions.
Hang on, I forgot who's taking over for oh yeah, I'll go Zach Moss at Indianapolis. Looked like he was the lead guy after Taylor went down. I know they have Deion Jackson, but I don't think he did very much.
Yeah, they're playing against the Chargers on Monday night.
So I will take Zach Moss. Yeah. He had 24 carries, 81 yards, so it seems like they're feeding him the ball a decent amount. So
The Colts have way too many primetime games for me to
Yeah, I'm with
handle.
you. Yeah, it's like the Giants. They like the NFL loves putting the New York Giants on in prime time, and it's just not good football. It's
I
not good
know.
from a viewership perspective.
Yeah. It's always the NFC East, I feel like, and usually
Yeah.
the AFC West as well. Those are like the two divisions that the NFL pushes really hard on people.
Yeah.
And
and the
it's
Denver, the
failed
Broncos.
miserably in their faces here with the AFC West.
But David, if you remember at the beginning of the year, podcast 1 or 2, you were high on the AFC West.
I think everyone was.
Everybody
That's what I'm
was.
saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
But who would have thought that that Broncos situation would go this poorly? I don't think anybody thought it would be this bad. I mean, there were people that were high on them and that thought that they might make a Super Bowl run, which I thought was idiotic. But to think that it was going to be this bad, I mean, I don't know if anybody could have seen that.
But I think if you look at it, looking back, it's always better, vision, whatever. Your vision's 2020 looking back.
Hindsight's 2020. Is
There we
the
go.
saying.
2020, yeah.
A lot of new coaches, a lot of new players. I mean,
Yeah.
I know the Rams had success last year, but they, for the most part, had a set coaching staff, and they just brought in a couple of talented guys. And I think
Yeah.
the whole new coaching staff maybe is what buried them. I don't know, but
Yeah.
especially a lot. It sounds like, from what I've heard, a lot of guys, their first time in whatever role they have. Maybe a quarterback coach being the offensive coordinator. I know that head coach, it was his first year doing that, so maybe it was a recipe for disaster.
Or, and I know Bo will agree with me here, maybe it's all Russell Wilson's fault.
No, I don't think you can say it's all Russell Wilson, but I think a good portion of it. I think that coach that they've got in there is not cut out to be a head coach. Hackett might be he might be a great QB coach, a great guy to hang out with in the locker room and play ping pong and cornhole with, but I don't think he's a guy that's going to be your head coach.
Well, they're learning the hard way. So what do you guys' lock of the week?
Bo, who do you got?
So I have one, but it's a little bit dependent. I like the Cardinals at home against the Buccaneers getting 6.5, but that's only if Kyler Murray plays. So if in the event that Kyler Murray doesn't play, I don't want any part of that game. My backup would be the Dolphins at home against the Packers on Christmas Day, laying 4. I don't think the Packers have a chance in this game. I think it's a horrific matchup for the Packers defense against that Dolphins offense. So I'll take the Dolphins and I'll lay the 4.
So yeah, the Cardinals in our pick'em are only +4.5. So I think we'll put you down for the Dolphins.
Okay, that's fair. I'm looking at ESPN right now, which probably has the updated.
So you want the
lines.
Dolphins -4? Is that what it is in the pick 'em
Yeah.
as well?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll
It's
take the Dolphins.
-4.5 in the pick'em, but whatever.
4.5. You can make it 8. I'll take the Dolphins laying whatever it is.
Yeah, I think this is a good example of how my year in the pick'em's going. The guy that has 3 wins on the year comes on and says he wants to take the Cardinals. My lock of the week is the Bucks -4.5 versus the Cardinals.
Nice, dude.
I hate it. It makes me sick to my stomach. But I was looking at the board earlier today, and I really hate the board this week. I'm just going to go with Tom Brady over. I think the Cardinals are shitty this year. The Buccaneers are also shitty, but I'm just going to go with Tom Brady here.
That Bucks team is just horrific. They're so bad.
They are. But you know
They're
what? They
so
looked competent in the first half against a really tough Bengals team. And if you take away all those turnovers, I think that it's a much different game against the Bengals. So I'm hoping that they can clean things up against a much, much worse Cardinals team and hopefully cover the 4.5.
But if you watch that Bengals team, that's what they do. They're a second half team. That defense and the defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo, he knows all the buttons to push in that second half. It takes him a half to figure you out, but once he gets you in his hands, man, there's nothing left, and he squeezes everything out of you. And they did it again this week to the Bucks.
And you know the beautiful thing about my lock this week, the Cardinals will never figure it out. So I think the Buccaneers cover 4.5.
No, they're bad too.
And then
They're awful.
didn't Tom Brady make a comment about the defense before that game? Did you guys
About
hear
the Bucks
about that?
defense or the Bengals defense?
He made a comment about the Bengals defense. Let me get exactly what he said.
I did not hear this.
And that's
John,
what
who-
they said motivated them in the second half. Tom Brady said in a podcast before the game this past Sunday that the Bengals defense was fairly tough.
Fairly
all
tough.
that is such crap
Fairly
to me.
tough, David.
All that is such crap because it motivated us in the second half. Well, it motivated you in the first half. You sucked in the first half. And then just at halftime, you were like, "Oh wait, I think you talked shit about
They
us
saw
on this
the clip.
podcast.
No,
Maybe we
they
should
never
start
saw the
trying
clip.
against this guy."
No,
No.
they never saw the clip before the game, David. It
Who's
was
your
at
lock of the
halftime.
week, John?
I'm actually going to go with Bo and hope for a good, maybe the universe bounces the ball in the Packers' direction. I'm going to go with the Miami Dolphins to cover -4.5 because it seems like the Packers have a better chance of covering if I don't pick them.
There you go. A little
So,
reverse psychology.
I really am. So we have tickets to the New Year's Day Vikings game. So if they
Ooh.
could somehow figure out a way to beat the Dolphins, the chance for them getting in the playoffs would still be someone in the conversation. If they lose, it's absolutely gone.
Yeah.
But if
Yep.
they beat the Dolphins, there's still a slim margin. There's still a little bit of hope, a little bit of light. And I think that the Lambeau would be rocking on New Year's Day, Sunday at 3:25 p.m.
And
against
I
the
think
Vikings.
one thing that might help the Packers this week is that this big like Arctic storm that's kind of moving through the Midwest right now. Usually you have cold weather teams going down to Miami in December and January. They really seem to struggle. But it seems like that the winter storm is going to touch almost the entire eastern half of the U.S. So it might be a little bit cooler in Miami than you would usually have on Christmas Day. So if it's down around 30 degrees to 50 degrees, somewhere in that range, it might benefit the Packers rather than it being 70, 80 degrees and humid.
I like that take. If you're a Packers fan, you're cheering for the Vikings to beat the Giants, the Panthers to beat the Lions, and the Commanders to lose to the 49ers.
I love the Lions this week, but I didn't like the 3.5.
Yeah, the hook is what gets you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what
That's
steered
tough.
me away from that one.
Yeah, that's tough. And it looks like the Seahawks are. That's another team we need to lose, and they are a 9.5-point underdog to the Chiefs. The Seahawks. So
That's a lot of points. That's a
that is a
lot of
lot.
points.
Chiefs can't cover the spread to save their lives.
They
Yeah.
cannot. Yeah.
So
I don't-
here's a tip for the people out there. Patrick Mahomes favored by more than a field goal. Not very good. He covers at like a 25 to 30% clip, which is not good at all. So Patrick Mahomes favored by more than a field goal is not good to bet on.
I always love looking at these spreads because I think even Vegas cannot get away from like historical bias over the past couple seasons. You know, the
Yep.
Lions are hot right now; they look good.
Yep.
But I mean, you look at the past couple of games. I know against the who they beat, the Jets. They might have been favored. They were slight underdogs, but
Yeah.
and the Jets, it was the same way when they won all those games in the early season. Like even Vegas cannot get out of their minds these shitty teams that have been shitty for many years. They still cannot find it in their souls to.
Yeah. But
give
going
them
back to that discussion we had on the Vikings, the Lions were playing the Vikings and were favored when the Vikings were 10-2. So I mean Vegas knows their stuff, but you're right. They look at these teams and they're like, wow, this team has been bad for 40 years. They're still bad.
Yeah. And that's why I think this is a theory I have. So when college basketball started last year, some of the spreads, these like really good teams were playing these shit teams from nowhere, and these spreads were minuscule. So I think even Vegas and how they have a lot of, I'm sure, PhD mathematic guys.
Yeah.
Even at the beginning of seasons, basketball, NFL, whatever it is, they don't have as good of a grasp on how good these teams are until as when they do when it's 10 or 12 games into the season.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So that's where you can get your edge and
Yeah.
make that extra couple bucks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this late in the season, Vegas knows, and it's just a total
Well, they know.
crapshoot.
They got her fucking down to it. They got a science now. It's too
And it's
late. You got to
fixed.
get it.
It's all fixed. You see that Giants Commanders game?
Oh,
It's all
Give
fixed.
me a break. You and your fixed. You're not on that train, are you actually, David? You
I'm
don't actually
100%
believe
on that train. Yes.
Oh man, come on.
I don't
No.
think the whole league is fixed, but I think there's parts of it that are fixed.
So you think if the NFL was going to fix games, they would fix the only game being played at that time, the game that's getting the most viewership at that time, the only game on TV, that's the one they're going to fix?
That gets people talking, and all publicity is good publicity.
There is no such thing as bad publicity. So
What
That's the
happened in the
saying. Thank
Giants
you, Bo.
game?
We're killing it
Oh,
on the
man.
Saints tonight.
Oh yeah. That was a wild game. And yeah, if you were gonna say that there's a game that's fixed, you got a lot of points in that Giants Washington game. Which that last call, what did you think of that, David, where McLaurin was asking the referee if he was lined up properly, and then he kind of gave him you got to move up a little bit, and he did, and then was holding there waiting to throw the flag when the ball got snapped and threw it right away because he wasn't on the line.
Yeah, I
Did you
mean,
see
I
that?
think
What did you think?
in all seriousness, like I don't really think it's fixed necessarily by that game alone, but like the defensive pass interference, it happens. But like the whole like Terry McLaurin thing, it's like maybe just the ref's a scumbag, but like the receiver's supposed to get on the line or be off the line. If they're on the line, they point to the referee on the sideline and say, "Am I on the line?" The ref gives them, a nod or a, yeah, you're good. It looked like that exchange happened, and like you said, he was locked and loaded, ready to toss that flag once the ball was snapped. So it's almost like he was setting him up for failure or something. Like, and Terry McLaurin said it after the game in the locker room. He's like, "I looked over to get the okay." He said I was good to go, and next thing you know, the flag comes out. So that was a pretty bad look, I think.
Yeah. The counter argument there is that it's not the job of the referee to make sure that the wide receivers and the players are lined up properly. I know there's a little bit of back and forth between wide receivers that are that far away from the ball. But some of that I think is on McLaurin. Like you have yard markers, there are hash marks. You got to know if you're on the line of scrimmage or not.
Well,
But
see, it wasn't. I totally agree with you, but it was very ticky tacky to the point
yeah.
where, like,
Oh, I'm with you.
I don't remember which one of these referee experts was on that cast, but they brought him in after the game, and he's like, "Yeah, that's a pretty ticky tacky call. Like, it's a half a yard or something versus if Terry McLaurin's 2 yards back, then yeah,
Yeah.
that deserves a flag. But when he's that close to the line of scrimmage and he's asking, "Hey, am I on the line?" If you watch any game, whether it's high school, college, NFL, they ask if you're on the line, and the ref will say, "Move up. You got to get up or you got to get off." And in that exchange, he asked for if he was on the line, and the ref, just didn't really help him out there.
Yeah. And then to have the flag locked and ready to go after he asked if he was good. And the
It's
ball was snapped
crazy.
and he just launches it. I don't understand.
It was crazy.
I don't
Do you
get it.
think Terry McLaren said something about his wife earlier, or what? What do you think happened? That he's
Maybe he
guy holds
slept
a
with his
grudge?
wife.
He might have
I'm going to
called him
double down on that take and say he slept with her.
he might have
Oh,
called
God.
him a sissy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think Daniel Jones is really getting unlocked, so I'm really excited to see what he can do in the postseason.
Gosh, man. Are you guys in on Daniel Jones?
No, Daniel
Jones?
Jones sucks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
He's getting unlocked, David, just like Kirk Cousins got unlocked in Minnesota.
There's no such thing as unlocking Kirk Cousins or Daniel Jones.
No, no. They're
right.
stuck between a C and a B minus.
All right. Well, you guys got anything else for the listeners?
No, everybody have a wonderful Christmas. We will see you after the holidays or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas to you two guys. Thank you all for listening. This has been Amateur Hour, episode 16. Anything else you guys want to say before I end the recording here?
Thanks, guys. Happy holidays.
Thanks for coming on. Remember, a lot of games on Saturday. A lot of games.
Get your picks in.
Yeah, that's right.